Welcome, everyone. This is an Arcola Bible Church podcast, and I'm your host, Mark Kelpscoff. I work all night, I work all day to pay the bills I have to pay. Ain't it sad? And still there never seems to be a single penny left for me. That's too bad. Many of us can echo those words from ABBA. That 1976 hit played here on the organ by Stephen Mann from Manchester. Why is it that our attitudes toward money reflect so much of our inner soul's condition? Here's the verse for the day.
James 4, verses 2 to 3. You desire but do not have, so you kill. You covet but you cannot get what you want, so you quarrel and fight. You do not have because you do not ask God. When you ask, you do not receive, because you ask with the wrong motives, that you may spend what you get on your pleasures.
Read for us there very well by Joshua Jejuraj. Thank you, Joshua. Today, I'm talking to Peter Hutchins, who most of you will know as the welcoming face at Arcola Bible Church. He will be sharing with me 7 baby steps to get a grip on your finances. But in this first episode, we will talk about the problem of debt and getting our heart on the right track. Welcome, Peter. Thank you for being with us today. And today we are going to talk a little bit about money and lack of money and debt and managing it. I know that Peter has some interesting steps for us to take, especially if you're struggling in this area. Now, I have to confess that it's not money management. It's not an area where I excel. I'm a bit of an optimist, and therefore I often want to let money sort of take care of itself and hope it works out in the end, which doesn't often seem to be a very good policy. So first off, why should I even care about this? What's at stake here if I'm lazy or careless in this area?
Money management in itself is not very exciting. At the same time, I would say that when you learn how to manage your money and when you're diligent at managing your money, there is a peace that comes over you that maybe you've never experienced before. And I always tell people that they can stop thinking about the what ifs in their life. So what if I have enough to retire? Or what if I have enough to buy this house? Or what if I have enough to buy this car? Or whatever your what if is. I think that taking the what if out of your life brings a piece about your life that maybe you haven't experienced before. And I see budgeting and paying off your debt as a means to an end. And a lot of people will sweep it under the rug and hope that it goes away, and it seldom does.
Right. So I'm exactly I'm exactly that kind of person. I mean, you've hit upon it.
There you go.
I mean, you've hit upon it right there. It's like so right from the start to look at my 401k or my HSA or that, and it's like my eyes glaze over immediately. I'm really have sort of oh no, I have no interest. But you're also right, and I have this nagging feeling in the back of my head all the time that, I'm gonna hit disaster sooner or later because I haven't, I haven't done this thing. It's almost like now we're coming up to sort of tax time, and it's the same kind of sort of feeling. Oh, I really better get on and do my taxes, but I just don't want to, and it gets worse and worse as the deadline approaches.
I just don't want to know what it's going to be. And then when I get to it, I'm either happy or I'm not happy. And why is it such a mystery when it can be figured out if you spend some time just looking at it? I also think that a big part about it for me is that growing up, my dad was very insistent that I save money. Sort of in our school, in like first and second grade, we had a school savings account, and every week you would bring in $1 or $2. They would deposit the money. They were teaching you how to save in a savings account. So I did that for a while, and all of a sudden I had more money in my savings account than I was allowed to have as a school saver. And so I was required to open up a regular savings account at the bank, or my dad did for me. The part that was hard for me, even at that young age, was what am I saving for? What is my goal? And when am I going to get to the end of this? A big part of it for me as an adult is to have set goals. And when I achieve those goals, then I make another goal to start saving for something else. I just don't like putting away money that has no end to it. And that's why I like planning it, because I want to know when I finish that race, and then I can
Right.
start a new race.
Wow.
And
I know that you're fairly optimistic kind of person too.
yes.
But have you had some money crises in your past that, that if you would known these principles maybe and put them into practice early on, that would have saved you from having such a crisis?
I did have, because in college, many times they come to the colleges and they sign you up for a credit card. And you think that, oh, this is wonderful. I'm going to have a credit card. I can pay for my stuff. And growing up, my parents always used credit cards for everything, for gas, for groceries, for clothes. And I never knew the whole cycle. I just saw them pull out this card and pay for things. I did not know that after that you had to pay the bill some other time. I was just like, this is awesome. You just pull this card out, stick it in the machine, and walk away. And that's how you pay for gas, whatever else you might want to pay for. And remember, this was in the 70s, before credit cards were really that popular, but I never remember my mother using cash or a check. So when I got a credit card, I had a job that was okay, but not that great. And so, of course, I took my credit card that I got in college, and I decided to buy a television that I couldn't afford. I was a desk clerk making $6 an hour, and I bought a cashmere coat. So I'm wearing a cashmere coat, which clearly I could not afford. And then I moved out of my house into an apartment, freezing cold, Rochester, New York. The electric bill came for the tidy sum of $400 in the first month in my studio apartment.
Wow.
And let's just say there was a crisis going on, deciding whether to pay the bill or eat. When I moved from there, I had about a $3,000 or $4,000 credit card debt. Of course, I met my wife, who had no debt and didn't like debt and doesn't like debt to this day, and was amazed that I actually had credit card bill that I was rolling over month after month and paying all this interest. And so I was very sort of irresponsible, and at the same time, very normal. I think that many people nowadays have credit card debt and think it's perfectly normal to buy something on a credit card that you may or may not cannot afford and pay upwards of 15 to 20% interest on a credit card and not think anything of it. But if I said, will you let me loan you some money for 20% interest, you would just be shocked, right? But that's what you pay on your credit card on a monthly basis when you don't pay it off. I quickly learned after getting married that carrying a debt wasn't going to be a good idea. And then unbeknownst to me, I got in a car accident shortly after we got engaged, and I didn't have money to pay for the repairs. And so Gail actually had to loan me the money, which was very interesting.
Gail is Peter's wife, for those who don't know Peter. Yeah.
So it was a very good learning experience for me. And Gail was very diligent at budgeting and managing her money from the very day that I met her. So God is very faithful to put two people together. One who doesn't do it at all, and one who's very faithful to do it down to the penny.
So could correct some of your wicked ways.
And to be truthful, I fought that notion of a budget and balancing the budget and all that for a good part of our marriage. I would say 20 out of the 30 years, I was like, no, I'm not doing this. This is crazy. I don't need to do that. So I don't consider myself a lifelong money manager. I do see the benefit of it, but I didn't see the benefit of it for a long, long time. So I have a lot of empathy for people who say, I don't want to do this. This is terrible.
Right.
I totally get it. I was.
But I think you've already sold us a little bit on some of the benefits, because right up front, I'm already attracted to what you said about, having a peace about a lot of these things that are, wandering around in the back of your head. And obviously, and I think also a lot of the listeners just saying, yeah, that would be great if I didn't have to worry about all those things. There's some people here who are so used to their debt, and so they actually think there's no way out. They're sort of stuck. It's climbed up, and
Right.
Now they just don't see. They look at their income, they look at their outflow, and they say, "I don't know. I hope someday something happens, but for now, I'm locked in. I can't see anything's going to help me." Well, what would you say to them?
I try to look at it as maybe not try to get overwhelmed with the total and say, how much do you think I could pay based on the income that I make? And then try to curb my lifestyle for a short time, maybe for 2 or 3 years. I would curb my expenses and my lifestyle so that I was able to make more payments on my loans. And then once I'm done with that, then I know that I'm free of that debt. And then I can do the things that I want to do, such as save or give money to others. You sacrifice for the short term for a goal in the long term.
Right.
And a lot of people look at that debt and say, well, that's going to take me 20 years to pay off. And I say, you probably can pay it off in 3 to 5 years if you make cuts into your lifestyle. But if you want to live your lifestyle and have the loan, it's going to take you a lot longer.
Right.
So it is a sacrifice. At the same time, you'll never know what it's like not to have it if you don't get it out of your life.
Peter will be back with us next Monday for part 2, where we will start enumerating the basic baby steps to extricate yourself from a financial swamp. Now, are you stuck in a bubble? A familiar small circle of friends and acquaintances that never change? Join us on our next episode, where we will hear from Don Stone about a complete change in attitude. See you next time.